Hey Tyler, thanks for grabbing some
Heyo.
time today.
Thanks. Yeah, for sure. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited because we're talking about two things that we love so much, StoryBrand and inbound marketing.
Yep.
Wanted to talk today on the topic of why your inbound marketing strategy needs a hero. We know like inbound marketing's been around for quite some time now, but I feel like in the past few years it's gotten a little bit harder for marketers to really take advantage of inbound marketing and make it successful. Why do you think that is?
It's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of it probably, and this is going to be unpolished thoughts from Tyler a little bit, but I think honestly, a lot of it, there's a lot of competition for it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people say the same things, and so they're not necessarily focused on what makes them unique or what they're, a lot of people use the word differentiator and those types of things. And so really it's a lot of, if I think of like the agency space or lots of services businesses, they kind of just all blend together. And so you don't really know what to follow, what to think. You search one thing and you're like, why is this answer different than this other answer? And so oftentimes from a customer perspective, sometimes it just gets really muddy. I think it's harder to rank in like organic search results than it used to be, like from a search engine optimization standpoint or SEO optimization standpoint. I think there's also, lots of people used to write content and then put some paid ad spend behind it or, boost it, if you will, on social platforms. And that's gotten a lot more competitive than it was, 5 to 10 years ago, kind of that window. And it's just a whole different industry, like digital marketing. I would say you kind of have to continue relearning your craft every like 3 months, if not more
Yep.
regularly, because it changes so fast. There's new platforms and all those types of things. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different variables that make it kind of more challenging, more competitive than it has been in the past. But I do think it still works. We still get results personally for our agency as well as for our clients. We just might have a little bit of a different approach to it than the average agency does. So
100%. And part of our approach is bringing in a hero. So who should be the hero of your inbound marketing strategy?
yeah, well, the customer should be, for sure. I think that
Hmm.
the better you are as a business at putting yourself in your customer's shoes, the more successful you're going to be. And that's from messaging to process to efficiencies to the buying process to removing barriers from the buying process, all those types of things. And then servicing the clients and providing deliverables and fulfillment and those types of things, whether you're in the services industry like we are, or you sell a digital product or a physical product. All of those things are really important as you can center your processes and messaging and all those things around your customer. And so, as far as kind of, we talk about StoryBrand and they talk a lot about the hero, and your hero, most brands that are, I would say, unsuccessful at chasing this type of a methodology are putting themselves as the hero. So they,
Hmm.
you go to their website, we've been in business for, 49 years and it's all about
Yep.
us. And you're like, most people, it's a turnoff at this point because they want to know, how are you going to help me? How are you going to fix my problems? Whether that's, helping people generate leads or it's fixing my septic system or it's
Right.
whatever, the client is or the customer is. But that's what they're looking for. They're looking for, how are you going to fix whatever issue that I'm struggling with right now, externally, so like the physical problem that's happening that's tangible, and then internally how that's making them feel. So whether they're falling behind on something or they're scared that their house is going to slide down a cliff, or that they're, obviously I've paid a lot of attention to residential real estate lately because of my examples, not in the city because non-sewer, it's septic, like, so you're going with me on this one. But they're wanting to know, like, that it's the internal challenge or struggle that we all have, and that's really what sells people,
Hmm.
and that you understand them in that. So I don't know if that answers your question. It was a little bit rambly, but
No, it totally answered it. And I had a sales call yesterday that really reminds me of what you're talking about right now. And I asked them like, what would make like, how could we show up as a good partner for you? And long story short, he was like, I want somebody that makes me look good to my boss.
yeah.
Like, I want a partner that's going to be like, yeah, this is how we do it, and is going to make them look good. And I think that's exactly what having your customer be the hero is.
Yeah, and I
So,
would say even like that, like as far as that conversation is great because we've centered in on talking to larger businesses, maybe medium to large businesses, and we're talking to less and less owners and CEOs that maybe a number of years ago that we were focused on. And we're talking to kind of like those directors of marketing, those CMOs,
Yep.
like that type of a role. And so they do need to look good in front of their boss, which is what we've positioned a lot of our messaging and a lot of our results and things, how we talk about our services to people. So it's a good example of just us even adapting and changing, putting ourselves into those customer shoes. And every customer looks different depending on B2B, B2C, direct to consumer, those types of things. So
Absolutely. 100%. And, every industry, every organization is unique and different. Everybody knows that. But there are some really common baseline challenges that heroes face that that you might be able to help your heroes solve. So what are some kind of those like templated boilerplate challenges that heroes come across?
I mean, a lot of it is like surviving and thriving type things. And so, if it's basic levels of survival, so I'm gonna, whether it's, oftentimes there's messaging around like mortgages or the financial industry, and I need to save as much money as I can on a house payment or something. And, like that's a survival type thing. And that's not necessarily through thriving, but and then there's the thriving pieces. So it's like, why I could buy a, whatever it is, a Kia, car for cheaper than I can buy a Mercedes or something, but I really want to thrive and look different and look good. And that makes me feel good internally and all those things. So maybe I'm going to splurge for that. And so there's kind of like those two different, I guess, if you kind of categorize your like different products or services based on as a survival thing or a thriving thing, we sit in like the middle of it a little bit from a digital marketing standpoint, because oftentimes businesses need help from an agency, from a marketing standpoint and like sales consulting standpoint to survive, but they also need optimization on campaigns and initiatives so that they can thrive. So we kind of have a funny one that sits in between it. So I don't know if that answers your question or that makes sense, but usually it kind of fits in those two different categories totally as far as the messaging goes.
Yeah. And I think like even basic topics like how to improve your return on your investment, how to stand out in your industry, XYZ tips on whatever it is. Super easy pieces of content that you can help create for your heroes.
Yeah, for sure.
Solve the problems.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is short and sweet and to the point, but I really loved your insight on why your inbound marketing strategy needs a hero.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.